So let's go to our main session now. Today's topic is hope and faith for fertility with Ayurveda. These days, we are seeing a lot of cases with fertility issues, PCOD, fibroids, and so many other gynecological problems. They're a wonderful solution in our Indian systems of medicine. So I'm happy to invite Dr. Rani Gupta to talk more about that. Rani Gupta is an Ayurvedic gynecologist and fertility expert in SKK Ayurveda, Delhi. She has more than 18 years of experience in the field of gynecology. She finished her BAMS at Lucknow University and her MD with specialization in Ayurvedic gynecology at BHU Varanasi. She's a gold medalist in her MD. She has expertise in fertility care. She has made many people's lives happy by successfully treating problems related to infertility, fibroids, endometriosis, menstrual disorders, PCODs, and other various chronic gynecological disorders with Ayurvedic medicine and Panchakarma treatments.
Good morning all and namaste. So today we will be discussing about hope and faith for fertility with Ayurveda. As we all know, our Indian systems of medicines and Ayurveda gives a really good hope and faith for all who suffer with situations like infertility and various other gynecological disorders. So I understand that this is such a big topic that if we start talking about infertility, it would take many sessions. So I have tried to concise it into short and make you understand a little bit about the description of infertility in Ayurveda. So what is infertility? The standard definition we all know is failure to achieve pregnancy after 1 year or more of regular unprotected sexual intercourse. But what does our own system of Ayurveda says? When we talk about infertility, we say that it is a state of no children. So it means that we start the treatment, we start to care for the fertility right from the preconception, and we continue it till a healthy child is born, till the Shresht Apatya is born, right? So it is not just to have a healthy pregnancy, it is also to have a healthy baby. So the care for infertility, the care for a woman and a couple extends till the whole pregnancy. So one of the authoritative texts, Kashyap Samhita, it defines 6 types of infertilities, where we very beautifully find the description of different type of cases which we usually see in our practice. So the first one is Bandhya, which is absolute sterility. That means the cases such as congenital absence of uterus, ovaries, certain karyotypic problems, genetic problems, where it is not at all possible for a female to conceive. Then the second one is apraja, which is primary infertility. Because of various causes, a female has never conceived and has approached you for the treatment. Sapraja is secondary infertility. That means she has already conceived, whether she has a live baby or she could not continue her pregnancy. Then the fourth one is Garbhini Bandhya, which is the recurrent pregnancy loss. So here we see that in Ayurveda, we consider these situations of recurrent pregnancy loss, stillbirth, IUDs also as a part of infertilities. So there is a very good and detailed treatment and description being mentioned in our text, where we can handle very beautifully with such situations like if a female gets pregnant but could not continue the pregnancies, or various reasons like infections or torch infections or other issues which leads to recurrent pregnancy loss, multiple abortions, stillbirth or IUD. So here the target of infertility treatment is to achieve healthy baby, not just pregnancy. There is a precise description of the causes of infertility in Ayurvedic gynecology. In Charak Samhita, we find the shloka which in a single words we understand all the causes of infertility for a couple. That means it includes both male and female infertility causes. The first one is yoni pradoshat, which means all the gynecological disorders involved leading to infertility. Like we find nowadays very commonly the females suffering with PCOD, endometriosis, and various other hormonal disorders leading to delayed fertilities. The second one is manaso abhitapat, which is various psychological disorders or the stress related issues where you would not find any significant changes in their clinical or investigative reports, but still a female could not conceive because of the various stress related issues. As we all know, there is a hypothalamo pituitary ovarian axis that is responsible for keeping all the hormones in sync. But because of the hypothalamus being compromised because of the continuous and sustained stress, there are many issues which can happen. The third one is Shukra Asrik Droshat, means the problems related with sperm in males and ova in females. So the problems related to the formation, to their release, to the rupture, and various other clinical issues. Fourth is Ahar Vihar Doshat. Though it is not that elaborately was discussed in the modern system of medicine, but nowadays, as 1 female out of 5 suffer with PCOD, we understand that this Ahar Vihar related causes are very much prevalent nowadays. So how the 7 dhatus, which starts forming right from the rasa till the shukra, are responsible for various hormonal issues. The fifth one is Akal Yogat, which mentions time factor. So time factor is usually defined in 2 forms. One is with the ovulation time, so which is usually irregular or delayed in case of irregular menstrual cycle. And the second one, which is also very significant, is the time of conception or in a way the time of marriage. As we all know, because of the conditions, because of the career situations, because of the ambitions, the marriage is getting delayed. And because of that, if we see it purely with a clinical basis, we understand that the chances of conception decreases as the couple increase with the age. So that is also a very important factor. And the last one is Bal Sankshayat, which is the physical illnesses. So many illnesses, maybe a simple chronic back pain, a female could not conceive, or various other issues, diabetes, epilepsy, hundreds of other causes which restrict the female to get the right conception. So after understanding all these causes, when should a couple take professional help for infertility? What should be the time the couple should wait that, okay, by now we have tried and now we should seek help? So there is a difference with the age factor. So if a couple is between the age group of 18 years to 25 years, there the fertility and the fecundity is very high. So they can very easily can wait for 2 years, because the data shows that if after 1 year a couple conceives, the chances of conception are 60%, then in 1.5 years, the chances increases to 70 to 80%. So if the age is favorable, a couple can wait for 2 years, irrespective of the fact that if there was any hormonal imbalance issues or some health issues, then they could seek help early. In the age group of 25 to 35 years, they can seek professional help after 1 year. But if the age of especially the female is more than 35 years, then they should seek help after 6 months of trying to conceive. But if a couple in early days, they approach you, we can do simpler tests like a simple follicular study, in the male a simple semen analysis, and physical well-being test about their, we can make them aware about their diet and their lifestyles, and certain herbs can be added to their regime, which could help them to gain better fertility. The cases of infertility resulting from various lifestyle disorders like polycystic ovaries, hypothyroidism, uh, endometriosis are responsible for delayed fertility or reduced fertility in males and females. So age factor, as we discussed already, is very important. Weight and obesity, which is a very important aspect to be considered, as we all female practitioners are getting such kind of cases where mere the high weight, the high BMI of a person can actually influence the release of hormones in the body and the imbalance of doshas in the body. So a right weight is very important. Exercise is very important. So most of the females, they are working in offices and doing the sedentary job. It is not that advisable, and they should actually exercise regularly. Stress factors and addictions are also certain lifestyle factors which can affect the fertility. So these should always be considered and pointed out to the couple who has approached you for such issue. So when a case of infertility approach us in our clinical practice, so it is not just the situation, the condition of the reproductive tissues that is important. We are not just focusing on the gynecological issue or the semen analysis in the males. Ayurveda believe in the holistic approach. And as we all know that the formation of dhatus is sequential according to Ayurvedic principles. The first dhatu, called rasa dhatu, is formed out of a good nutrition. So good nutrition means the right kind of diet according to your doshas, the right time of eating, the correct amount, and that is a complete another topic of discussion. But it means that a person is taking a correct nutrition and it is well digested in the body, then sequentially all the dhatus are formed correctly. Dhatus means grossly the tissues in the body. And finally, the ultimate reproductive tissue which is formed is of good quality. So when a patient of infertility approaches us in our clinics, we have to start right away talking about how does she eat, what are the timings, if she digested properly, if the evacuations or bowel movements are good, if there is no abdominal bloating or gas formation or acidity into the condition, because we have to start right away talking about her digestion and metabolism so that the sequential dhatu and the final dhatu is formed correctly. So Shukra, what is Shukra? It's usually defined and used in Ayurveda text in different forms. But grossly, if we see, Shukra in males is the seminal fluid, hormones, the quality of the sperm. It is all dependent upon the quality of Shukra, which is the final reproductive tissue or dhatu in the sequential formation of body tissues. In the females, Shukra involves all the reproductive organs, all the hormones right from the HPO axis, their excretions, their secretions in the body, the vaginal secretions in the female, all are included under the category of Shukra. So here we can understand that how important it is to see the complete health status of a female, so that sequentially and automatically all the hormones related to fertility and which can cause anovulation and infertility directly gets improved. So finally, we come out to the conclusion that we have to see the complete health status of the female while treating the infertility, because Shukra is formed from Rasa Dhatu, which is formed from the food that we eat and digest. So this whole metabolic cascade of good nourishment, good digestion, including proper digestion of thoughts also. That means that stress part or the mental faculty is also important, is responsible for the complete reproductive health of the female. So now we come to the very important aspect, the treatment approach of Ayurveda for infertility. How we approach a case of infertility in Ayurveda. So correction of causative factors. We already discussed the causes which are being described, right from the gynecological causes to the stress related and mental causes, physical illnesses, and all other diet and lifestyle related causes. So we have to first go for the Nidan Parivarjana, that is correction of the causative factors, if any, by taking the complete history of the couple who is approaching. Then I would like to point out a very important part in Ayurvedic gynecology, because what we see in our clinical practice is that when a couple they approach us for infertility, usually they approach us uh, as a final and last alternative. So they have already undergone some IVFs, IUIs. They have taken a lot of different, procedures in the modern system of medicine. And when they approach us, they are drained physically, mentally, economically, and they are looking for some magic in Ayurveda. So they would not expect you to make some investigations if needed. They would consider that, okay, I'll get some magic pill and that would be enough for me to take, and then I'll conceive. So I would like to point out that Ayurveda gynecology is a complete subject and a complete department. It is very elaborate, and even when we do gynecological practice according to Ayurvedic principles, we need to understand the pinpointed diagnosis. We need to understand whether we have to treat a blocked fallopian tube case, or we have to improve the AMH of a patient. We have to work on the rupture of the follicle. We have to treat the cyst, if any. We have to treat the hormonal imbalance, if any. So in certain cases, if the female has not undergone all the investigations which are needed primarily for the treatment, we have to make them do those investigations, because Ayurveda also work very pinpointedly on these issues. Then understanding whether a case has to be treated with medicines or through Panchakarma, which is a Shodhan or detoxification method in Ayurveda. So in the next slide, I would like to discuss that where we should go for a medicinal treatment and where we need to do the Shodhana procedure. So that is also a point, a treatment approach. Then certain herbs which are, so the treatment to improve the quality of sperms, ova, nourishment of endometrium are given, and there is a very good concept of Ritu, Kshetra, Ambu Bijam in Ayurveda, where we talk about the ovulation timings. The Kshetra means that place, the reproductive areas. Ambu means the hormonal balance, and Bijam means the quality of sperm and ova. So there are various herbs, various procedures, detoxification procedures, common herbs like Shatapushpa, Shatavari, Ashwagandha, Hingu, as Dr. Mangai talked about fenugreek. So many herbs and many formulations are being described in Ayurveda, which talk about the improvement of quality of sperms, ovas, and nourishment of endometrium. And we treat the patient and we continue our treatment till complete pregnancy. Because again, our aim is to get a healthy baby, not just a pregnancy. Next. So in female infertility, the common factors which are involved are ovarian factors, uterine factors, pelvic factors, tubal fallopian tube factors, cervical factors, and unexplained infertility. So Ayurvedic treatment should be focused according to the above factors. As I told you earlier, that even in Ayurvedic gynecology, the treatments are very pinpointed. There is no magic pill which is just given and magically would work and do all the infertility treatment. We have to understand the correct pathology, and accordingly, the medicines are decided and planned and given to the patient. Now, again, a very important point to understand. Shaman or Shodhan means shaman is to give medicines, to advise diet, to advise lifestyle to a patient, and it can be treated by just giving the conservative treatment or the medicinal treatment. But in certain cases, we have to understand, because even our acharyas, Charak, Sushrut, they all prescribe lot of panchakarma and para surgical treatments to be given in certain situations. That means there are certain situations where the medicines would not work till we do the detoxification procedure. It is like a very common example which is given in our text, that if a cloth is dirty, we cannot dye it and we cannot color it properly. So we have to wash it first, and then we have to do the color so that it reflects a good and vibrant color. Similarly, if a patient, after taking hundreds of different treatments, lot of toxic medicines, hormones, and not what else, they approach you, they are not physically fit, they are mentally so stressed, their digestion has gone for a toss. So initially, if you do not correct all such situation in their body, they're not going to get improvement with your shamana treatment. So I have tried to explain where we can do shamana, till what situation we can do shamana, and after what situation you need to do some panchakarma, certain procedures without which the patient would not get improvement. So in Shaman, if the interval of menstrual period is less than 3 to 4 months, then it can be improved. Like this is specifically a case of polycystic ovaries or the hormonal imbalances, where usually the cycles are prolonged and a female does not get her periods in 3 months and 4 months. They keep on taking those withdrawal hormones for years altogether, but does not get the improvement. So if the period is delayed for 1 2 3 months, you can handle it with shaman. But if it is the interval is more than 3 to 4 months, a quick vaman, which is done for kapha pacification or kapha detoxification, or a quick virechana, would immediately help that female, followed by medicines. So, and if the BMI is less than 25, you can go for shaman. But if a person is very obese and a lot of kapha avaran, or a lot of hormonal imbalance is there, then again a quick vasti, vamana, virechana, according to the doshas, would help in that person. If the infertility period is less than 4 years, shaman can work. But if it is more than 4 years, definitely panchkarma would be needed to reduce the time period of the treatment. So when we talk about Shodhan, it is again a full discussion topic, that how to approach a case with Panchakarma, which Panchakarma should be done. Usually when we talk about Shodhan, the most common Shodhan type, which is practically and clinically used in gynecology, is Virechan. Virechan is easy to do. You can prescribe it, and a person or a female can do it at home. A short Virechan can be done Even if you do a proper virechan with Snehipan and Swedan and Rukshan, followed by virechan and followed by Sansarjan Kram, then also it is much easier than Vamana. And the second commonest Shodhan type in gynecology is Vasti. So I practically see in my clinical practice that doing Vasti, Yoga Vasti of 8 sessions or 16 sessions is found to be really very effective in the cases of Vata imbalance, especially in the cases of ovarian cyst, in the cases of endometriosis. I have seen tremendous results with the usage of these Panchkarma procedures like Virechana and Vasti. Shamana and medicinal treatment. How, in short, we can decide or we can select the yogas which are mentioned in Ayurvedic text. Firstly, it is not just the content of the medicine or the herbo mineral medicine which is important. It is also very important to select the correct form of medicine according to the dosha involved, according to the prakriti or vikriti of the patient. The correct form of medicine is important. I mean to say that if a person is vata dominant, if the female is very lean and thin, ruksha prakriti, and you can find lot of features of vata imbalance in her, then selecting a good ghritam means a ghee-based Ayurvedic medicine or a oil-based Ayurvedic medicine is very important. Ghee-based usually for a female who is very vata pitta personality, and even for a kapha personality, if you have to give some sneha or some fat-related medicine, it is very important to give the mustard oil-based medicinal product or a sesame oil-based medicinal product. There is one very scientific and logical reason behind that. Why in Ayurveda we use a lot of ghee-based medicines and oil-based medicines, because we all know that the blood-brain barrier is usually crossed by the fat base, the carrier of fat. So on the HPO axis, if we are going to act in certain situations where the FSH and LH of the patient is disturbed, or there are some issues which are related to like hyperprolactinemia, which is very common for infertility, we have to give them oil-based medicines along with Shirodhara, which is also done with sneha or fats, because without that, it will not be able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier and it would not work appropriately. Then selection of appropriate route of medicine. I wonder how at that era, in that era of 5,000 years back, our acharyas could figure out that how we can achieve maximum concentration of our medicines if we choose the correct route to give that. So you can find that in our text, we find various routes of administration of medicines. So if we have to reach to the pituitary or the hypothalamus or to the brain, we have to give a medicine through nasyam. It is very commonly used in clinical practice for the rupture of the follicles, where we need appropriate calibration of FSH and LH. We give Shatpushpa oil nasyam or the Adrak Swaras nasyam to the patient, and immediately we find the results similar to the SCG injections and the follicle ruptures. Similarly, if we find the concentration of the medicines in the reproductive areas, we select the routes such as the vaginal route, like Yoni Pichu is being given, which is like a vaginal tamponing with different Ayurvedic oils. We select Yoni Prakshalanam, which is like washing the vaginal area with certain decoctions. It is being scientifically proven that how in the posterior fornix of the vagina, the absorption is so high in the uterine arteries and in the system that the concentration we achieve through this route of administration is much higher than the oral route. Uttarvasti is one such example where we directly administer our medicines inside the Garbhashaya or the uterus. Vasti is a procedure where we reach the pelvic area, we reach the area where the Vata imbalance is there, and we can correct the Vata imbalance. So we find different routes of medicine administration and we select those appropriate routes according to the needs and diagnosis. Duration of medication is also very important. So it is not that a patient has approached you, you have given 10-15 days of medicines and the patient conceives. It is not possible. Usually we beg the time at least of 3 months, because scientifically we understand that the formation of ova, its differentiation and its formation and reaching to the matured stage needs at least 85 days. So that means 3 ovarian cycles are needed if we have to improve the quality of ova and the reproductive areas. So if we are doing the Shamana treatment, we should convince the patient to take at least 3 months of medication. It is possible that she can conceive within 3 months, but at least 3 months of treatment is needed to have a good result. When to switch to Panchkarma? We already discussed that. In what situations we need to understand that, okay, now this case is very chronic, or a very common example is the blocked fallopian tubes. Usually the medicines would not work that effectively. We have to do Uttar Basti in the cases of blocked fallopian tubes. And with the Uttar Basti, we find almost 70 to 80% of success rates, and very important. So you cannot do medicinal treatment in every diagnosis of infertility. When to refer to IVF for surgical intervention? So again, this is also very important. Every science is not complete. We understand that in certain situations, for example, if there is a huge intramural or submucosal fibroid and the female approaching you at an age of 35, so definitely at that age with such a big fibroid, you cannot regress it so fast and so effectively that the female could conceive properly. So in such cases, myomectomy has to be advised. Many cases, they approach us when their tubes are not infected and clipped because of some surgical interventions. So in such cases also, we need to refer them for IVF or situation. In the cases of azoospermias, which are not treatable, we have to refer the patients to IVF and surgical interventions. So a short discussion on the Panchkarma or the Shodhan treatment. Usually we start with Rukshana. Rukshana means drying treatment. Why it is done? Because if we are going to give Snehipan or Snehan to the patient, we have to first give some drying treatment, that is Ampachan, or making the digestion of that person so strong that that patient can handle the intake of fats or ghee based medicines to induce Panchkarma. So it is done internally with some Ampachana medicines, Chitrakadivati, or certain formulations which are meant to Amritotaram Kashayam, Guduchyadi Kashayam, and a lot of different medications are being used for Ampachan internally. And Rukshana being done as Udvartanam, which is a dry powder friction massage externally. It is followed by Snehan, which is again both external and internal. Internally done with certain oils and fats, and externally done as a abhyangam or a oil massage. Followed by Swedanam, which is like a medicated steam, which is given to the patient to so that the doshas which are present in the extremities will come inside the koshtha and can be taken out by the process of Vamana, which is medicated emesis, or Virechana, which is medicated purgation. Vasti, I discussed already that how Vasti is important, very important for female, for gynecology, various gynecological process, because it is directly acting on the pelvic area and it is acting on Vata. which is one of the doshas responsible for various gynecological disorders and infertility. Uttar Vasti, which is done usually followed after Vasti, and a very specialized procedure. In the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about Uttar Vasti and Nasyam. I already told that how Nasyam would directly reach to the brain, would directly correct the hypothalamo-pituitary ovarian axis, and it's a wonderful and easiest form of panchkarma which can be done in gynecological cases. Next slide. Okay, so Uttar Vasti, I'll take few minutes talking about Uttar Vasti because it is something which is not so extensively practiced, but a very important and very helpful procedure. As I told you that Ayurveda describes various routes of administration of medicines. So to achieve very good concentration in the uterine area or in the reproductive area, we need to do Uttar Vastis. It is a very specialized procedure in Ayurvedic gynecology where a medicine which is needed according to the situation. Like in fallopian tubal blockage, we use specific oils like Sharatelam, Kasisadi Telam, Sehcharadi Telam to administer inside the uterine cavity. And we find 70 to 80% results in that. We use specific oils for fibroids, for polycystic ovaries, for improving the thickness of the endometrium, which is required for the implantation in cases of infertility, and various other forms also. The vaginal Uttarvasti is being administered in cases of Bartholin cyst, in cervicitis, in vaginitis, and various other situations. Even there is a description of the urethral vasti, which is not related to infertility, but very good procedure for helping the females with bladder dysfunctions, with urethral strictures, and various other urinary problems. So this Uttarvasti treatment, which we conduct in various situations or various clinical conditions, is a very helpful tool for in our hands, which our own science of Ayurveda has given us. Next. Okay, so do not lose hope, for after the storm, there is a sunshine. So I believe that there is always a possibility of getting good news for every infertile couple, and they should approach Ayurveda for getting a really encouraging and good results. Thank you so much.